Iran's deputy foreign minister has a message for America. The Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until the end of America's evils. Trump's response? Next week comes the power plants. Next week comes the bridges. Every one of them. Iran says it will never request negotiations. Trump says it gets really bad next week. Both mean it. The confrontation between the United States and Iran is widening beyond direct military strikes, with both sides now issuing increasingly aggressive warnings over the future of energy security and the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical maritime choke points. On July 15th, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps claimed it had launched attacks targeting facilities linked to the US Navy's Fifth Fleet in Bahrain, signaling what it described as another phase of its retaliation against American military operations in the Gulf.
The attack was aimed at command and control centers, logistics facilities, fuel depots, and military equipment sites. The attacks were in response to U.S. hostile actions, and the enemy should expect the closure of other oil and gas export routes that serve the interests of America and its allies. If Washington attempts to restrict oil and gas exports by controlling regional shipping routes, other export routes serving U.S. and allied interests could be shut down as well. Energy exports in the region would be for everyone or for no one.
Iran's warning came as the IRGC also vowed broader retaliation if Washington continued military operations aimed at controlling regional shipping lanes. According to the IRGC-linked Fars news agency, Iran also struck what it described as a critical facility in Kuwait on July 15th, triggering multiple explosions and a fire. The claims have not been independently verified, and there has been no immediate confirmation from Kuwaiti authorities. Meanwhile, the United States announced another major round of military operations.
U.S. Central Command completed an additional round of strikes against Iran at 10 p.m. ET, July 14th, hitting dozens of military targets near the Strait of Hormuz and Iranian coastal areas.
CENTCOM said the strikes were part of its continuing campaign to degrade Iran's military capabilities around the strategic waterway. CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper also accused Tehran of escalating attacks against civilian shipping.
Over the past 7 days, Iran has intentionally targeted civilians across the region by attacking 7 commercial ships, resulting in nearly a dozen civilian crew members killed, missing, or injured. Iranian forces have also launched dozens of missiles and drones toward neighboring Gulf countries. U.S. forces are holding Iran accountable for unwarranted aggression that continues to endanger innocent lives.
As military operations intensified, Tehran hardened its diplomatic position. Iran's deputy foreign minister Kazem Gharibabadi ruled out renewed negotiations with Washington and insisted Iran would maintain its restrictions in the Strait of Hormuz.
The Strait of Hormuz will remain closed until the end of America's evils. Tehran would not be the first to return to talks after accusing Washington of derailing the U.S.-Iran Memorandum of Understanding through its military actions.
Gharibabadi further argued that increased military pressure would not force Tehran back to the negotiating table.
Iran had not abandoned diplomacy, and it was the U.S. that had disrupted the negotiation process. Any assumption that increased pressure or military action could force Iran to seek talks was a mistake, as Tehran would not change its position on the Strait of Hormuz or ease restrictions it has imposed there. We will never request negotiations with the U.S.
In another statement, Iran's military claimed it had once again struck the US-linked Azraq Air Base in Jordan, which hosts American personnel. Jordan, the Pentagon, and US Central Command had not commented on the claim at the time of reporting. On the American side, President Donald Trump, speaking to Fox News on July 14th, made it clear that the military campaign would continue.
They'll continue until I say it's enough. I mean, they'll continue. They've been, the word the military likes to use is degrade. They've been degraded to a very low level. And they have fight. It's like a great boxer. You think you have him beat, and then all of a sudden he comes back and he gives you a shot. They have some fight left, but they don't have much. And
Trump also suggested the campaign could expand dramatically if Iran refused to negotiate.
As far as taking it is concerned, if we degrade them far enough and deep enough back, I would do that.
Do you anticipate that the strikes we're seeing this week against Iran will expand? Are you considering hitting energy targets or other locations inside of Iran?
I'll save the energy targets for last, but ultimately we'll hit energy targets, yeah. But we're going to hit them very hard tonight. We're going to hit them very hard tomorrow night. We're going to hit them very hard the night after. And then next week it gets really bad for them because next week comes the power plants. Next week comes the bridges. We're going to knock out all their power plants. We're going to knock out all their bridges unless they get to the table and negotiate.
With Washington expanding its military campaign, Tehran threatening energy routes, and diplomacy appearing frozen, the Gulf region is witnessing one of its most dangerous military standoffs in years, with the security of global energy supplies increasingly at the center of the conflict. The military confrontation between the United States and Iran has expanded across the Gulf, with both sides announcing fresh strikes on strategic military and maritime targets, further raising fears over the security of the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical energy corridors. On July 13th, the IRGC claimed it launched the second phase of Operation Nasr II, targeting Al Jufair base in Bahrain, home to Naval Support Activity Bahrain, which hosts the U.S. Fifth Fleet.
As the Operation Nasr II continues, we targeted several weapons storage depots, a satellite communications center, and a building housing U.S. forces at the Al Jufair base in Bahrain. The missile and drone attacks were part of the second phase of its retaliation operation today.
Following the claimed attack, Bahrain's Interior Ministry confirmed that warning sirens had been activated, urging residents to move to safe locations. However, the ministry did not immediately confirm the extent of any damage. The IRGC also claimed it struck 2 offending supertankers in the Strait of Hormuz, alleging the vessels ignored repeated warnings and attempted to navigate through what Iran described as a mined route.
The vessels were struck after they ignored repeated warnings, turned off navigation systems, and attempted to pass through a mined route. The rogue tankers had been deceived by the U.S. into taking the southern route in Omani waters by turning off their navigation systems. Cooperation with the aggressor enemy would result in damage, delays in reopening the waterway, and a global energy crisis.
This was hours after the United Arab Emirates said Iran had targeted 2 of its oil tankers in Omani waters of the Strait of Hormuz, reportedly killing at least 1 Indian crew member. Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi also defended Tehran's role in the waterway, writing on X that Iran had always been the guardian of the Strait of Hormuz and would remain so.
POTUS is absolutely right. Whoever provides secure and safe passage of commercial vessels through the Strait of Hormuz should be compensated for this service. Iran has always been the guardian of the strait and will remain so forever.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Central Command announced that it had completed a 5-hour strike operation ending at 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time on July 13th, targeting multiple Iranian military sites.
U.S. Central Command CENTCOM completed the latest wave of strikes against Iran at 10:15 p.m. ET on July 13th. During the 5-hour mission, U.S. forces successfully struck military targets across Iran, including Bushehr, Chabahar, Jask, Konarak, Abu Musa, and Bandar Abbas to further degrade Iran's ability to attack commercial shipping.
CENTCOM said the strikes targeted Iranian coastal defense systems, missile and drone sites, and maritime capabilities across southern Iran.
CENTCOM forces employed precision munitions against Iranian coastal defense systems, missile and drone sites, and maritime capabilities. More than 50,000 U.S. service members are currently deployed across the Middle East. American forces remain vigilant, lethal, and ready.
With both Washington and Tehran escalating military operations while the Strait of Hormuz remains at the center of the confrontation, concerns continue to grow over regional stability and the potential impact on global energy supplies.